us were very interested in getting into renewable energy, so we did a technology search. We found this amazing technology at Rice University in 2016. We left our job, commercialized it in 2017, raised first money in 2018, got 4 employees, successfully scaled up. In 2019, raised more money, grew to 20 employees, successfully scaled up the technology again in 2021. And raised more money in 2021, and now we're at 40 employees. We've raised about just under $40 million. But what our technology does is in the manufacturing of chemicals and fuels, think about like the ship channel and the giant refineries, we eliminate the need to combust natural gas to drive those processes. So we eliminate that combustion, which produces carbon emissions, and we replace it with renewable electricity. And so if you want to imagine what the world would look like in our technology, picture like a big chemical plant, like the ship channel, except no smoke tanks. So same products, that support the economy, things like fuels, fertilizers, raw materials for plastics, and other things that go into our products, but no carbon emissions. We are about 12 months from entering the market, and all in all, things are going pretty good. So we tie back to 2 goals. These are all 2 goals that are very close to my heart that we're talking about today. The first is SDG 7, Sustainable Development Goal 7. This is very active, sustainable energy flow. And if you notice, like affordable, reliable, sustainable. So the cool thing about our technology is not only do we reduce emissions, it allows for dramatic reduction in chemical costs in the reactor. And as the price of renewable electricity goes down, so does the price of things with it. And so we are projecting that we will be able to hit parity on cost for a lot of these commodities, things like fertilizer, et cetera, with the current processes by the end of this decade. So it's not only cleaner, but eventually cheaper as well. And that is how we support the sustainable goal number 7. And the sustainable goal number 13 is to take urgent action to combat climate change. And we are definitely taking urgent action to scale the technology 500,000x over the past 36 months. And we need to scale about another 40x to get into the market. We are moving incredibly quickly for a technology like ours. And we're doing it in such a way that we can get the market to current impact. So we don't have to, stay in development until 2030. We're about to enter the market and start making impact now. So that urgent action, very, very near and dear to our heart. So that's a little bit about this week, but this is definitely not my show. We came to see some budding new entrepreneurs who pitched some amazing ideas. And so I'm very, very happy to bring them up on stage and help showcase their technologies today. So the first entrepreneur that I would like to and give your pitch for the company.
Hi. Okay. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Zahra. I'm a senior at Vanderbilt University. I'm finishing up my last semester. I'm an influencer in the sustainable fashion and climate justice space. So definitely resonate with the SDG about kind of spreading awareness and instigating climate action. And I'm the founder and CEO of In the Loop, which is a rental clothing subscription platform. I have a quick presentation. Okay, so we are moving circular fashion forward through increasing accessibility to sustainable and ethical fashion brands. The main problem that I've identified as an influencer in this space is that the biggest barrier to supporting sustainable and ethical fashion brands for consumers is cost, and that doesn't really vary across income levels. People struggle with this from making less than 20K to over 100K. And it's also across ages. So there's currently no easy way for conscious consumers concerned about sustainable and ethical fashion to try items from these brands that they want to support at a lower price point for short durations, and to try them on in person, because there's a shortage of brick and mortar stores for these kinds of brands. So our curated rental platform helps conscious consumers who want to support sustainable and ethical clothing brands by reducing the financial barriers to entry and increasing the ability for consumers to try before they buy. On a brand side, we also help these brands by giving them a platform that they can share their products on. We thoroughly vet the brand, so it gives them a lot of credibility within the industry that they have been vetted and accepted into our marketplace. Expands their customer base, of course, because now they can reach an untapped demographic that traditionally wouldn't be able to afford their goods. And it encourages design risk because it allows them to kind of test things, test designs and items with us exclusively, and get instantaneous data back about those items. So our customer is really in the 18 to 35 range. Primarily, we're focusing on women right now, but hope to expand this. There's just kind of a shortage of sustainable brands for men. And we're kind of focusing on college age students and postgrad people. The market size, we derive this from looking at people interested in sustainable fashion and those that have experimented with rental in any capacity. The rental market is definitely growing along with the general subscription market. So we're encouraged by the trends and the general consumer awareness about issues regarding sustainability and ethical manufacturing. And so what we would love to kind of get from people in the startup space is advice for the best practices in negotiating with brands, as that's the stage we're about to embark on. We're about to negotiate with 4 to 5 brands who we hope to partner with for this beta test that we're going to hopefully launch in the spring. And then, since it is such a logistics heavy venture, specifically with reverse fulfillment, we would love advice for people with heavy logistics experience, specifically within what the beta should look like in order to position us for a successful launch. So yes, that is me, and that is a little bit about In the Loop.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Zahra. So I would like to do 2 things right now before you get off the stage. One is I'm going to ask you some questions, and also for anyone in the audience, we would love to source any questions from the audience. So if you have any questions for Zahra, please put it in the chat, and I will make sure that we get to it. So first off, really good pitch. How many times have you pitched this before?
That was my first one.
Really?
Yeah, for In the Loop, yes. Oh
wow, your first pitch is so much better than my first pitch was.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, yeah, you're starting in a very good place. So
yeah.
That is awesome. You had mentioned that you vet the brands from a sustainability standpoint, and I was just curious, what does that look like? What do you do to vet the brand, and what is your process for that?
Yeah, so we kind of agonized over this for a bit. We decided for the beta test, we really just wanted to start having authentic conversations with the brands, and we have 3 non-negotiable pillars about what we're looking for in brands related to sustainability practices and ethical manufacturing. And then the last one is goals about sustainability initiatives and how transparent they are about those goals and the progress made on the goals. So initially we toyed with the idea of doing an audit with like a checklist, but realized just getting started that might be too prohibitive for smaller companies. So right now we're just going ahead with, we have a set list of questions, and we're not giving them to the brands ahead of time. We're just trying to see their natural organic responses and kind of weeding them out through that, and then also through an independent kind of review of what they publish and all of that.
Have you thought about making a score or anything like that?
We did, and I think eventually that's definitely what we want to do. It's just we just found it really difficult to quantify or set a threshold for certain like metrics. It's hard to define sustainability in the first place, let alone like put a score to it. So eventually we definitely want to have some sort of certification standard that we can provide. But at the moment, we think a questionnaire based kind of scoring would be best.
Good. Hey, my next question is, and once again, just to anyone in the audience, if anyone in the audience has any questions, we would love to field those as well. My next question is on the market size. And so you saw a couple $1 billion, not bad. But I was just curious, is that what the market is today, or is that what the market could be in 10 years?
So that's what it is today. I mean, it's a very top-down approach because we are so early stage. But basically, like looking into interest in sustainable fashion, specifically women, and then people who have purchased or rented from rental platforms in the past to get that number, and specifically within the States.
So something that I would like to challenge you to do is take a look at that slide and imagine what that could be. So if planet Earth woke up on this, and we should, Felix had a really interesting note on like when is humanity finally going to prioritize ethical practices over price? Like we should absolutely wake up to this, and entrepreneurs like yourself are going to help the world do that. What could this market be in 10 or 20 years if like half of fashion, globally became sustainable fashion? I would challenge you to look at it like that, because that will help showcase investors, the kind of future that you're going to enable from not only an impact standpoint, but a monetary return standpoint as well. I saw Maria had a question. So are you planning on having a monthly subscription model, or how will it work?
Yeah, it's definitely, for the beta, we're planning on just offering the monthly subscription model. And then we hope to expand into one-time rentals if people have special events and whatnot after we complete the beta.
Cool. Very good. Final question, then I'm gonna let you go. This is just a point. It would also be good if you could find some way to quantify the impact that the company has. So if like one piece of clothing has like a certain carbon footprint, or if it is responsible for, in general, X amount of like, sub-wage labor, or, some like adverse working conditions overseas or something, like for every piece of clothing that you help someone like not go buy or whatever, what kind of impact does that have to the world? Like, emissions, socioeconomic, human rights, any kind of numbers you could put around that could really make the story very powerful.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you for that.
Okay, cool. And just on advice for negotiating with brands and logistics, happy to jump on a call outside of this and give you any advice I have. I don't know if it's worth anything, but happy to do that. Anyone else on the call who could give advice on negotiating with brands or logistics experience, please reach out to Zahra. Cool. Thank you so much, Zahra.
Thank you.
Awesome. And now I would like to bring Felix up on the stage. Felix, if you could jump on stage. And I don't know if Felix is in here. Oh, here we go. Awesome. Cool. So Felix is with West Street Recovery. Super happy to have you here, Felix. Love the beard, man. I feel you. So yeah, hey, tell us about West Street Recovery, and please introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Felix Kapoor. Can you guys hear me okay? Oh, I saw a thumbs up, so I'm assuming that's a yes.
We can hear you great, man.
Cool. I'm seeing lots of thumbs up. This is an amazing platform, besides Zoom, by the way, to have meetings and stuff. Very cool. My name is Felix Kapoor. I'm with West Street Recovery. I wanted to first say, Zahra, thank you so much for bringing that to light. I think in so many parts of the world, fast fashion and ethical fashion are not talked about enough, and the marketing machine, especially in this country, is so strong that people are blinded. And like I said, I would love a world where we prioritize that behavior over price, and people like you are pushing that model forward, and that seems to be a trend. But change is also a slow-moving animal, but it's important to have people like you to push that forward. And I would love to learn more about it. My name is Felix Kapoor. I'm with West Street Recovery. We're an advocacy and disaster recovery organization. We're a grassroots nonprofit that formed in Houston. We formed out of Harvey. We saw a big need for direct assistance in the terms of food, materials, money, and that direct assistance need turned into home repair need, because I don't know if anyone's really kept up with any of the home repair situation from Harvey or the home repair program from Harvey, but essentially the state had to take over the city and the county's home repair budget because they weren't moving at all at one point. And there are still people in many homes. The other day I walked into a home that was down to the studs, which means no drywall, no ceiling. All the wood was exposed, and she hadn't been in her home in 4 years, and she's been living with her sister. And she doesn't qualify for aid because she's undocumented. And she's like, I just want to move back home, and is there any way you can help me with this? And yeah, there's still a lot of, Harvey is still here. It's a 10-year storm. And when you talk to people, even locally, even not even just outside the nation, they're like, yeah, we got through Harvey. And no, we didn't. We actually didn't. And since Harvey, there's been multiple disasters, such as Hurricane Melda. COVID was a huge disaster. And this past winter storm, Uri, which killed some of the most people of any storm in Texas, and which was actually underreported on. So Houston, for the most part, is a very big disaster zone, along with a lot of other cities in the Gulf Coast, including Lake Charles, New Orleans. And there's just a lot of lack of recognition of where that is, because so much of where the power is concentrated is inside of the city, and so much of the people that are suffering the effects are outside of the city, meaning like outside of the central location of the city with all the bright lights and glamour. So I do the home repair portion, and I want to sort of bring that into, how do I share a presentation of this thing? Oh, share screen. Cool. See if that'll work. Okay. No funny tabs open. Cool. All right, can everybody see this? I think they can. So this is us. Oh, wrong button. Give me 1 second. Anyway, so this is a picture of us as it comes up on board. And really, like, when these disasters hit Houston, and with the numbers that are coming in as far as like the effects of climate change, the world's only getting hotter, and we're only going to see more precipitation. We're not really moving fast enough to change our, I'm not certain why this isn't voting, but we're not moving fast enough to really change our impact on climate change. And because of that, Houston's only going to see stronger storms. We're only going to get a hotter world because there's going to be more precipitation since it's hotter in the world. And really, who gets affected by most of these storms is low-income Black and brown residents. And the big thing about climate change that a lot of people don't talk about is all of these disasters are getting rid of the affordable housing stock that's available in an affordable city like Houston. Well, affordable compared to a lot of other places. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen because it doesn't feel like this is coming up. And so that's something they don't talk about. And really, who gets hurt the most is low-income Black and brown people. FEMA is basically a business, hasn't really provided a lot of dedicated money towards significant home repairs towards a lot of people. And we concentrate our efforts in Northeast Houston, but there's other parts of Houston that are suffering. But Northeast Houston is predominantly where we concentrate. With our home repair program, we've done 16 full rebuilds. We've touched over 200 homes with small repairs such as like kitchens, flooring, roofs, bathrooms, steps for the outside for anyone who is handicapped. And one model that we've tried to use when achieving like an equitable recovery is community involvement. So we don't just hire contractors. We've had to because of COVID, but outside of just hiring contractors, we try to hire local people to in the neighborhood or within the 5 zip codes we work in to actually do some of the home repairs. We have many photos where we have people painting, hanging drywall, learning how to install flooring, so that when the next inevitable disaster comes, as these storms become an annual thing, they can help provide their own recovery and not wait on the city and the federal government to actually distribute funds or cross their fingers and hope FEMA approves them or gives them a significant amount of money. So that's been something really, really cool. And we're also putting money in the neighborhood. We pay everyone minimum $15 an hour. Some people that are more active, 20, which is very similar to the rate that we pay ourselves as staff. We've got about 7 staff, 3 full-time and 4 part-time. And it's been an interesting ride, and that's sort of our home repair program too. And it stinks because we'll get into houses, and these houses clearly need to be torn down, but because of the lack of affordable housing stock, we need to make a way or find a way to have these houses actually stay level and stay habitable for people to stay in. And a lot of times people want to stay in these homes. They're homes that they've grown up in, that's been in their family for decades, and they don't really want to give up that space. Along with the home repair piece, we also do community organizing, and that's kind of where the special part is. We have a community group in Lakewood, which is the neighborhood the church is named after, that Lakewood Church is named after, and the original church was located really close by. We have a neighborhood group called the Northeast Action Collective, and I'm wearing their shirt. And right now we're fighting for drainage justice in Northeast Houston, specifically in Lakewood. And we've had multiple meetings with, we're trying to have multiple meetings with people in public works within the city, within the county as well, so that we can get their eyes on the drainage problems, because we're suffering from unnamed storms, let alone storms with names like Nicholas that came through and could have been disastrous for our city, or Beta, should have hit our city last year, but sort of veered east. And I just got out of a meeting with our group, and it's a really, really special group. We try to develop facilitation skills within the community residents. We try to hire them for some tasks like distributing backpacks, or within that program, we have a disaster preparation team. So this disaster preparation team has identified 10 or 11 active members within our organization, which is about 30 to 40 members, and we've gotten them generators, at least them, I mean, the like top 10 people with the most incredible, or not incredible, but like the biggest medical needs. We've got disaster bags, I think over 60 out to our residents and their communities as well. And then we're also trying to plan a disaster team within the neighborhood of Lakewood itself, where they have a phone tree, they have access to supplies in the event of another disaster, so that they can sort of rely on themselves instead of, like I said, relying on the city or the county government to actually take action in a reasonable time frame. The Northeast Action Collective has been a really, really special group. It's basically me, 2 other people, and a bunch of grandmas that are real pissed off. It's really, really awesome. And there are some younger people too, but it's a really, really special group, and they're all down with the cause, and they keep us motivated because they're so motivated for change. So that's what we do in terms of community organizing, and we are about to publish a research paper where we hired some of the residents that were in the Northeast Action Collective to actually conduct interviews of Harvey survivors on how the recovery process can actually be improved. And then we have a research survey that we did through a foundation called the River Network that is going to be published soon as well, with some results as far as like how people feel about flooding and how much they think they will flood again, and what are some solutions to how we can actively prepare for the next flood as well. Our disaster prep team has been really, really cool. It's been nice to set up generators with community members and get them, emergency bags ready to go so that they can focus on, their survival during these storms. That's pretty much the 3 phases. I took way more than 3 minutes or 2 minutes. It might be a heavy story. We have we're getting a new website soon. So, if anyone has any as far as our ask goes, volunteers are nice, but it's been tough with COVID. We haven't been able to hire as many community residents this year, mainly due to COVID, because a lot of them are predisposed or a little bit older. But we're hoping to get back to a little bit of that. We just recently had a community project where we're hanging up drywall on the ceiling of a resident who had a tree fall through his roof because his tree died from the winter storm. So if anyone has website knowledge, we're trying to launch our new website. If anyone wants to donate, is looking for an organization to donate to, we're pretty much funded by grants and private donations, and by the spirit of our community residents, we're yeah, I'm down with your cause. One thing that does go unnoticed as well as posting our Facebook posts or Instagram posts, tweeting about how Houston is a climate disaster. The housing director, nobody knows this maybe, but the housing director in Houston actually called out the mayor and got fired by the mayor because the mayor was trying to support a housing project with his old coworker on it from a law firm that he had worked at. And so the housing director actually called out the mayor for choosing that project versus another affordable housing project. And now there's chaos in City Hall and investigations going on with the mayor. So there's clearly not an initiative to really help anyone from any of these disasters. And I'm gonna stop talking now.
Hey, fantastic. So first, Felix, I just gotta say what an amazing thing this is that you're doing. And just your raw passion and the need of the community for what you're doing is huge. I was actually part of Red Cross's disaster action team whenever I first joined Houston, and it's tough work. I salute you, man, because it is really, really difficult. So first off, I've got a couple questions, but also I'd like to go to the audience like we did last time. If anybody in the audience has any questions, we'd love to source some of those for Felix as well. So towards the end there, because one of the things I'd written down was, what are you looking for right now? And at the very end, you mentioned volunteers, website, donations. Did you have any goals around how much? Are you trying to get 100 volunteers? Or are you trying to get your website done by the end of November, or a certain dollar amount for donations?
So as far as volunteers go, I would love for anyone to come to our community meetings. We've got about 3 over the course of 2 weeks, or over the course of a 2-week period. We have 3, and we would love your attendance there, just so you can see how this model of public education that we've adopted sort of gets implemented, and to get new eyes on what we can do better. Maybe we're taking up too much space, and not giving residents enough space. Maybe there's some facilitation practices that y'all know about that we can teach other people. Maybe there's some just brilliant ideas y'all have in terms of expanding the Northeast Action Collective, as it's a growing group right now. It's now a recognized nonprofit with the state. And they'll be opening a bank account soon, which is pretty cool. It's like seeing your teenage kid thrive. As far as a dollar amount goes, every year we try to raise at least $10,000 or $20,000 in private donations. But if anyone here works for a corporation, knows someone that works for a corporation that either does matching, there's a lot of different banks. And there's a lot of institutions that are looking for organizations to support. And I feel like a lot of people on this call have access to a lot of resources that a lot of people in the Northeast don't, to help support an organization like us that's supporting one of the lowest income zip codes in Houston. And really, I don't want to just say for us, I would also say for Zahra, find an organization that's PERS that's trying to change the norm and support them. Like if you don't believe in what West Street does, or you have another organization you're more passionate about, go support them, but use your resources to spread the energy and to spread the word as well.
Yeah, so the next question I have is, could you describe like your overall plan for like where do you want to go with West Street over the next like 5 years? Like, are you trying to expand like nationally or internationally, or do you just really want to like intensify in a certain area? One thing that when you're presenting, it wasn't really clear like what the end goal is. If and just like anytime you're pitching a startup, like some people are like, okay, are you going for world domination, or are you going for for like a very niche area? And there's no right answer, but for West Street and for yourself, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? In 30 seconds.
Yeah, thanks for putting a time cap. I think our main, we've been trying to answer that question for the past 4 years, is where do we see ourselves in 5 years? And initially we wanted to start an organization that we could hand off to community residents and then they could run. So like work to the end, at the end would get picked up by community residents. And I think right now, our best bet in terms of what Houston needs to survive this apocalypse that we're in is being a home repair agency to provide in-kind and affordable home repair that provides community involvement and also organizes within communities in Northeast Houston specifically. And if we can expand beyond that, then we'll need clones, or we'll need to size up. But I think right now our goal for the next few years is like, I think we've established ourselves as one of the main players in disaster recovery in Houston. Us and about 7 or 8 other organizations. When you see these storms online, it's all these nonprofits, 7 or 8 of them, including Habitat and a few churches that are actually doing the home repair. It's not the city or state. So I think that's sort of where we're going to envision ourselves long term, as well as being in a place where people can come into community and find community and also have their voice heard by politicians and councilmen and mayors, so that problems can get solved, because there is a strong disconnect from downtown and everywhere else. Like, people are kind of afraid to get from behind their desks and out into the streets and in people's houses.
Yeah, so just like, I just wrote this out while you were talking. Like, I mean, I think a good way to say it would, like, you want to be the main home repair organization in Houston that provides assistance to underserved populations, for affordable home repair. And something that could be powerful is if you like were to quantify that, like, how many people are you trying to help? I don't know how big the problem is. And if you're like, hey, listen, this is a huge problem and I want to like take care of 25% of it, you can then back in like how big of an organization you need to be. And those kind of numbers can help drive action. And so then you're like, hey, if you give me X paycheck, then it translates to X impact. And another thing is you can also quantify outreach. You mentioned a lot about the I'm trying to think of the right way to put it, but like basically just like having an impact on policy and increasing the visibility of this. And so like putting numbers around like how many social hits or impressions you want to get, or articles in the press, just to like help heighten the visibility. Like, setting those numbers and setting those goals is the first step towards helping make them happen. I've got one more question, but before I do that, is there anyone else in the audience? Grace has a question. So Grace asked, do you know of any of the residents that want to start businesses to continue this work?
Yeah, I've thought of ideas of like, how can we gather residents to do drywall repair or tree removal or branch repair. Yeah, I think there's one resident who is actually going to like HVAC school, HVAC training to become like a certified, AC specialist. But it would be really cool to serve other parts of Houston with this model of residents that we may have that have a pretty decent level of skill, or even high level of skill. Like, I was really inspired by the amount of like home repair skills all of these homeowners have. I was like, wow, I need to learn from you.
Something interesting, and I don't know why this just popped in my head, but I've seen business models where it's basically like a two-pronged business model where one side of the business does like standard work, so it'd be like standard HVAC work, and they use that to essentially subsidize the other part of the business, and especially around like the specialized stuff like HVAC, and there's plenty of more specialized like home repair things. I don't know, it could be a very interesting thing to consider. Yeah, hey, that's pretty much all I got. Any final notes before we move to the open session? Yeah, awesome. So, hey, Felix, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Yeah, now what I would like to do is to open the floor to anyone in the audience that would like to come up and potentially pitch their idea. So you get excited and decide you want to come up on stage, and if not, we'll go back into normal networking.
Thanks, Trevor. And while we wait, if you guys do want to come up stage, put it on the chat, like he said. And I just want to let everybody know, I dropped it in the chat. If you do want to continue working on solutions around climate action, around both the SDGs for today, you're more than welcome to come and join our Climathon this year. The kickoff is coming up. Oh my gosh, it's like 12 days away. 2 weeks from now or so, less than 2 weeks. October 25th, Houston Climathon will be virtual, and you'll have about a week to work on solutions around different areas regarding climate action, regarding disaster preparedness, and so on. And so just encourage everyone to sign up and attend and form a team.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.